everybody. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah, it's Thank God I'm Atheist, a podcast about politics, religion, and life in America, and just living through it as an atheist. I'm Frank Feldman.
I'm Rachel.
And coming up on the show today, well, first let's actually acknowledge, Rachel's here.
Hello.
Dan's not.
What am I? Chopped liver?
Rachel's sitting in for Dan, and Dan is off gallivanting around the globe as he does.
Yes.
And he should be back next week. So, coming up on the show today, this political season has been a very interesting one. Yeah. And we, at the beginning of the year, longtime listeners, you'll recall, regular listeners, you'll recall us, Dan and I talking about sort of the year that was ahead of us and the importance of just sucking it up and voting for Biden. Yeah. And we just kind of wanted to do a little bit of an update. This was a big political week for America with the Democratic National Convention. And there were some highlights and some things that just seems like the
things have changed
that felt right to talk about. So we'll be getting to that. But first, we have some things that happened this week, news of the week. And I'm going to start with a story from Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah.
Great story.
Everyone's
all the best
favorite
stories.
Muslim country.
All the best stories come from Afghanistan. And by best stories, I mean some of the most horrifying. Dealing with human rights and whatnot. But this one sort of tickled me just a little. Apparently, the Taliban, the government, I suppose, in Afghanistan, released some stats about this year and how their sort of enforcement of strict Sharia law is going. Yeah. And they wanted everybody to know that this year, 281 beardless officers in their ministry, in their security forces, were fired for not being able to grow beards.
For not being able to.
Jesus. Either not having a beard, like refusing to grow a beard. Yeah. But I don't know why you would do that, because
you'll get fired.
You will get fired. You also might find yourself in front of a military tribunal for refusing to follow orders, apparently. Yeah. And so, not so good. Also, the hairstyles of 450 military mujahideen were corrected to comply with Sharia law. Oh. And the Taliban has taken the steps to prohibit barbers in several provinces from shaving or trimming beards. It is now also illegal. The beard is very important.
In its natural state, it cannot be
absolutely
groomed and tended to.
According to the Taliban, the beard is considered a distinctive feature given to men to set them apart from women.
Some women have beards.
Right?
What do they do then?
But also, like, when I think about distinctive features that separate men and women, usually I'm not thinking about the beard, right? There are other things that spring to mind. Yeah. One feature in particular that I think of. But let's see. This article that I read talked to somebody who was fired, and he says, "I cannot grow a beard, and they constantly called and harassed me. Around 3 months ago, the commander told me that I could no longer stay in the unit because of my beard. I joined them for financial reasons, but throughout my year with them, I faced lots of harassments over my inability to grow a beard. They would say I wasn't a true Muslim."
Well, yeah, if God wanted you, if God blessed you and you were one of his or Allah's, followers, he would have given you a beard. Yeah. There's a reason Allah is not letting you grow a beard. Yeah. And it's because you're unworthy.
And he doesn't like you.
And he did something wrong. Yeah. So
you don't deserve.
So you don't deserve anything. You don't get a job. You don't deserve a job. No. You're fired.
Be gone with you and your beardless woman-like face.
Your womanly face.
The beard, the standard that they're using is that the beard must at least be the length of a fist. So that's a
pretty long beard.
Yeah. I sort of rotated my fist a few different ways. I think it probably is like if you sort of put
whose fist also
the bearded
the
person or
your own fist.
You get your little baby. And you're like you hold baby.
Well, like
fist.
is there like a beard measurer on the council, and he has like this massive hand. Yeah,
and he's just like, Marr.
Yeah,
you're not manly enough.
Not long enough.
Yeah. Apparently, they've also been cracking down on other things like musical instruments. They've this past year they've destroyed over 21,000 musical instruments.
Because having any joy at all is just not godly.
Oh,
any form of happiness is.
Yeah. Oh no kidding. The article talked about this guy who was a former guitar teacher. And he had the security forces show up at his door. He like the criminal that he is clearly, he ran out of the back and climbed over the gate, jumped into the yard. Let's see. The police ransacked his house and discovered 5 guitars. And he was taken to the police station where he was severely beaten. Again, as the criminal that he clearly
of his guitars.
is. They were saying, apparently, the foreigners are gone and you cannot live with the devil's instruments anymore. They flogged me and repeatedly punched me in the face.
Oh my God.
Things are great in Afghanistan right now. They just keep seemingly outdoing themselves in their...
They never cease to amaze.
Awfulness.
How awful they can be.
The hatred that they have for the human spirit.
Humanity. Yeah. They've prioritized their religion over humanity.
Well, but it's also like one of the most horrible readings of their religion. Like their Muslim countries aren't great on human rights, right? No matter which one you look at.
It's a
None
shitty
of them
religion.
are great, right? But there are degrees of shittiness.
Absolutely.
And Afghanistan under the Taliban continues to figure out how to make it even shittier.
Yeah, be the worst.
Yeah. And so, well, good on you, Taliban, I guess.
Well, I also have Taliban story.
Oh yeah, okay.
There's always more. So
more shittiness.
More shittiness. Just yeah. So they don't like this guitar guy. Well, they also don't like the sound of women's voices singing or reading in public. Women cannot. Women's voices should not be heard in public. We should not.
What are they supposed to do?
Do they have
like a sign language that they're working with now to like?
I don't know.
How do you ask for? I mean, I assume women have to
type it on your cell phone and hold it up, and
give me.
They can't. They don't let women look men in the eyes unless they're related to them.
Right.
They make the women cover from head to toe.
Right.
It's like they don't want women to exist at all. Like, could you just go completely unnoticed? Thank you.
Jesus. Yeah.
And like, what purpose? What do the men making these rules? What purpose do they see women serving in society if they can't really exist and be noticed and be part of society? What do you see their purpose is then?
They don't see a purpose in society for women. They see women as just a baby maker and baby raisers, right? And baby feeders.
So they have this, the Taliban made this committee, basically. This is like a few years old, and it's it's like the vice committee, basically. It's a propagation of virtue and prevention of vice is what the point of it is. So they issued a 114-page document, and this women not talking and singing in public or reading in public is part of that.
Reading out loud.
Reading out. Yeah. Read. Anyway, they justify it by saying a woman's voice is just so intimate that like it shouldn't, that this is me now, like projecting that might tempt a man or something. Like just the sound of a delicate woman's voice would just make him do bad things. Like it's her fault if she even exists that he does bad things.
Right.
I had
well, and also like the fact that they can't encounter a woman without thinking about sex.
Right.
Right.
Like
and
who's the one who's the perpetrator of vice at this point?
Right.
It's not the woman speaking.
Yeah. Who has the problem?
Yeah.
Right. It's clearly these men.
Yeah.
These improperly or poorly socialized middle schoolers.
Yeah.
Right. Or incels who can't conceive of a woman outside of the context of her ability
to seduce.
Well, to pleasure him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything she does might seduce him. Mm-hmm. So that would be very, very bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to this Muslim event once.
Men,
I know, seriously. Like, what are you saying about yourself when you need women around you to do this?
Yeah. Just awful. Anyway.
So fuck the Taliban. Still the world's shittiest government.
Yet another example.
Another week of them being number one in shittiest government in the world.
Well, a close second, Rachel. The state of Texas.
Yeah.
Sorry, Texas. We love you, Texas.
No, we don't. We love Austin. We'll take Austin.
Parts of San Antonio.
Yeah.
There's a neighborhood or two in Dallas. The rest of it can, anyway, no, Texas is in an unfortunate position of having a really awful government.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good people in Texas, right?
They got Beto.
They have Beto. Yeah.
Yeah. They got some good.
Yeah. I don't really care for their governor, but,
no.
Anyway, this story comes from a school district in South Texas. It is the South Texas Mission School District. The superintendent this year, at the end of this last school year, so the beginning of summer, he received. Actually, I'm not sure if he or she, but they received an email with a list of 676 books that a group of local pastors believed were claiming to were quote filthy and evil. Filthy and evil books, Rachel. 676 of them that and this is actually I thought this was going to be a good response from the superintendent who replied saying that they would check to see if they even had the books.
Okay.
Right. And I was like, oh, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Like this person spotted that this is just a list that none of these pastors have read these books.
Yeah.
Right. This is just a list generated by somebody somewhere. Right. Which apparently that's exactly what it was. But this superintendent was actually kind of a piece of shit and forwarded the email on to the deputy superintendent, asking them to ask the district's director for instructional technology and library services to look into removing them. This is from the email, can you prioritize researching these books to ensure we remove them from the school libraries? So this superintendent is just taking marching orders from this
religious
group of pastors,
leaders.
Right? Can your IT coaches help you track the location of the books to expedite this request? As though just because somebody asks for a book to be removed,
they can then make it your priority.
Yeah. And apparently this is, I always assume that these must be like books with sexual themes or LGBTQ plus themes or whatnot. But apparently this list, if it's like touching upon religion or race, God forbid. They're all freaking out about it. And so like I pulled up the list of titles on this list, and I have to admit, I don't know what any of these are. I don't read children's books and young adult books, but I do recognize some of the titles from when I was younger and just art culture in general.
Yeah.
Apparently, Anne Frank's diary is on the list.
Is filthy.
Filthy. It's the graphic adaptation. So it's like a graphic novel version of it, which I'm sure is just awful, just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was like a Maya Angelou book on the list, which is just like, what the fuck?
I don't get that.
A Clockwork Orange. I mean, that's kind of an adult. It has some adult themes, but
what
like
kids reading that? Though?
Yeah, seriously, like whatever. And of course, The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, of course.
Made it because they don't want
it's their top secret mission.
They don't want to be outed.
Yeah, don't
to the kids.
Tell them what we're planning.
I know why the cage bird sings. That's the Maya Angelou book. I just
don't see what they would have issue with.
Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the fucking Rye.
Everyone reads Catcher in the Rye.
Everybody reads it.
And no one's damaged from it.
No, because it's a book that like, yeah, anyway.
These fucking idiots.
Teenage, angst and whatnot. I can't remember all the themes of that book. But yeah, it's just wild. Like you go through and there's all of these like classics that are on the list, and then some books that, with titles like Sex, an Uncensored Introduction. But kids need to learn about sex. Yeah, and I highly doubt this is being presented in a way that's not appropriate for the age level.
If it's called Sex, an Introduction or education, it's clearly...
It's not smut, right?
It's written in a textbook manner.
Yeah. And honestly, anyway. So that's going on in Texas. The superintendent was super excited to just get rid of all these books. Word got out, and enough people, I guess, were outraged enough that the process was put on hold, from my understanding. But I'm sure a number of these will eventually just be removed. We have a friend here in Salt Lake who is on the school district's book removal review, request review committee. Mm-hmm. I don't know the exact name or exactly what it's called, but
the book Nazis.
Well, she's not a book Nazi. Yeah. She's trying to protect.
They want them to be book Nazis.
Their educators are on this committee, and they read the books that people have been requesting to have removed from the school libraries. And we were talking a couple of weeks about sort of it all going on, and it's just, the cultural conservatives are. This is not a new drum for them to be beating, right? Like book banning is just a constant fight, but there's this there's now this official process because the states are passing laws. Like here in Utah, I remember this law getting passed a couple years ago. And, so as long as the majority of the school district's committees, like this one that our friend is on, don't vote to ban it, then the book can stay. But as soon as this book that she was telling me about, it's this beautiful, great book dealing with a teenager coming to awareness about his own sexuality, right? But dealt with not in explicit ways,
right?
In ways that are appropriate, right? And every kid in America has already heard about, right,
and experiencing,
and is experiencing.
Not reading about it doesn't make it not exist.
Yeah. It was one school district that ended up, if it was, I don't know how many school districts there are or whatnot, but it was 4 to 5, right? like there was one school district that basically decided, okay, this book can stay.
Yeah.
But if one additional school district had voted
That's
to
all
get
it
rid of
takes.
it would have been banned statewide.
That's so ridiculous.
And it's just like, what the fuck? So
these people that want personal freedom and freedom from government and then don't allow children to choose which books. It's a fucking book.
Yeah.
Let their parents be in charge of overseeing that. Can you imagine if a school district said every child must be vaccinated for COVID before you can come to school? Those people would lose their goddamn mind. But if you say, but we are all going to tell you we're going to make decisions about other freedoms for you.
Right.
And they're okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Or if you were going to cancel the football team.
Oh God.
Right.
Yeah. These same people would lose their minds. The same people would
lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, no, like you get to decide, right?
Yeah.
If your children participate in something or not, or if they read something or not. And that's up to you, right? Like these are not the books that are being taught in the classroom.
Right.
Right. These aren't part of the curriculum.
Right.
Right. I mean, some of them are, like the Diary of Anne Frank is on school curriculum, right?
Catcher in the Rye, I feel like was taught in school.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I can't remember.
But yeah, these kids can still go to a library and get it.
Yeah.
Just not the school library.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Or they can go to a bookstore and get it. You're not preventing anything.
Well, this is step one, let's face it.
Yeah, that's true.
Once they get the schools libraries, then they're coming for the public libraries.
Yeah.
So,
it's
and
true.
then Barnes and Noble.
Yeah. You're right. Okay. Well, I'm going to go to a Texas story also. I'm just going to follow you around the globe today. This is Houston, though. I don't know where yours was. South Texas somewhere, but
some random name.
I found our Golden Girls retirement community. So
you might want to explain that Frank we've been talking about for years.
Many years, as most people are huge fans of the Golden Girls, but just the concept of like living in a community together when we're older, so that we're like really close together proximity wise, but we want to maybe modernize the Golden Girls concept so that we're not all under one small roof. We want like a giant mansion. And so we figure hopefully by the time we're like 60, we could pool our real estate resources and get something real great.
Really awesome place.
Well, I found in Houston the New Light Church. They're a mega church with like 20,000 members or something.
Oh, Jesus.
Their compound is up for sale for $15 million. What? This thing is insane. It has like this enormous mansion.
Holy shit.
It has 6 or 7 guest houses. It's got this whole tennis court, glorious pool in the middle of all the houses, a volleyball court. This thing is nice. Each of these little guest houses is also bigger than any of our houses. Like these are not guest houses. I'm looking at
this picture.
This is amazing. These fuckers have not paid property taxes on their $15 million property because they're exempt because it houses religious leaders. Yeah. So the pastor, bishop of this church, it's him and his wife, and they just living the life of luxury. Oh. So this is from the Houston Chronicle, and the Chronicle went and looked up like all of the properties in Texas's most populated counties that are tax exempt under this rule. And it's like over $1 billion in real estate that aren't paying taxes. Because
they're tied up in sort of
their religious housing or whatever. $1 billion of real estate. I mean, we're talking like hundreds of millions in tax dollars not being paid.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Over years and years, you know? This is a lot of money.
Oh my God.
And these fuckers also, just live in the life.
How telling is that? Like, I would love for somebody to do an analysis of similar properties throughout the state and add up to see how much that's worth. Yeah. Right. Like, to just know how much like these churches are enriching just douchebags. Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Because like, oh my God, that complex is crazy looking. So
it's so crazy.
I mean, how many of those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think this is like a cultural center for like parties. But yeah, 6 little houses. They're calling them cabanas. These are not cabanas.
Those are not. Those are like
really large houses.
3, 4 bedroom.
Yeah. 2-car garages.
Yeah. Oh my God. And they have their own little yards.
Everyone has their own yard. They all meet in the courtyard in the big mansion in the back.
Oh, those are just like guest houses.
These are the guest houses.
Oh my God. It looks like stupid. A small like condominium development or something.
It does. Right? It looks like a planned development of homes, like a subdivision, but it's all just one.
So is this property. For sale? What's going on?
It's for sale for $15 million. All right. So I don't have that today. I'm a little short. A little short
on the 15 million.
But if any of your listeners like our proposal of a Golden Girls,
I want to buy it.
We're accepting applications.
If you have $15 million, we might. If you buy it for us, we might consider letting you join us. Well, the thing that I think is really interesting about this is why are they selling it? Does it say? Does it say why they're selling it?
I don't think it says.
They're just selling it. So the church is selling it. And this is also kind of a fun thing. Churches don't pay capital gains. Did you know that? Like, I guess corporations do. Yeah. Right? Like, and private individuals obviously do. Yeah. But churches, it being an income tax, a federal income tax, churches do not pay capital gains.
Makes sense that they wouldn't, but also total bullshit.
Yeah.
Especially for like churches that have a lot of money invested.
Yeah. And so like they get to just sit on this wealth that's growing and whatnot. And then you step back and you look at something like the Mormon Church and you're like, yeah, no wonder
all the real estate they
have
own.
Amassed so much, wealth because they don't like
all
of the little taxes that we have to deal with. Yeah. They don't have to.
I literally make decisions about where I'm going to live based on if I'm paying capital gains tax or not. Like I can't even just like move right now because I feel like I'll have to pay too much in capital gains. And I'm just a little lady in Salt Lake and these fuckers are billionaires and they don't have to pay. They're living in this $15 million house.
Rachel, as long as you buy a new house, you'll be fine. As long as you roll it over into a new property.
Well, if I sell, Anyway,
but anyway, let's not get into
whatever. Whatever.
Anyway,
I'm rich, guys. No. Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Alrighty. Well, I just referenced the Mormon Church. My next story actually is a Mormon Church policy update. They've just released a new general handbook, which is the manual that bishops, sort of the local congregations, operate on, right? Bishops and stake presidents are going to be using this. I mean, it goes for leadership of all levels of the church down to like bishop. I don't think like below bishops would ever really see a general handbook. I thumbed through one when my dad was bishop, and it's literally anything that can come up, right?
Really?
How do you handle this? How do you handle that? And just like tiny little basic rules. I have a feeling that this new updated general handbook is going to cause an exodus out of the church.
Oh.
A mass resignation along the lines of like, you remember the November policy, right? Where that was the policy about children of LGBTQ plus parents not being able to be baptized until they were 18. And tons of people just looked at that, saw how absurd and cruel and unfair of a policy that would be, or was while it was on the books. 4 years later, they rescinded it because it was awful. But a lot of people left after that. A lot of people left over Prop 8 out in California, the church's involvement in passing or trying to pass that. And there have been a number of these, like even when the Proclamation on the Family came out back, what was that, in the 90s or early 2000s, that caused a lot of people to be really pissed off and leave. It's just sort of these moments in Mormon circles. They talk about it, your shelf breaking, right? It's just one more thing that you're putting up on your little shelf of disbelief or whatnot. Yeah. And then finally the weight just becomes too much and the shelf breaks. Yeah. And I think this is going to be one of those, because let's get into the details. The big really awful policy changes have to do with transgender people. And these are some of the new rules. And I'm going to be reading from this article. So a lot of this is their language, not my language. Okay. So if I happen to not say quote, everybody just be aware. It's not me saying this crap. Okay. Let's see. So this is what the first bullet point. Individuals are instructed to attend gender-specific meetings and activities that align with their assigned sex at birth. Any rare exceptions must be approved by the area presidency. Next one. Individuals who have transitioned in any way, whether surgically, medically, or socially, cannot work with children, serve as teachers in their congregation, or fill any gender-specific assignments, such as president of the Women's Relief Society. Instead, quote, they may receive other callings and assignments that provide opportunities to progress and serve others. And I sat there and I was like, if you're not a teacher working with children or in a gender-specific assignment in the Mormon Church, what are you doing?
You're the one that gets to go on Wednesday nights and clean the church.
You can clean the church. You can be maybe the
guy that clicks the button up and down the aisles in sacrament meeting.
The word clerk.
The clerk.
You can be the clerk. You can be the chorister, right? Maybe the organist.
You totally could be the organist.
Right.
In fact, that would be great.
But not great, because people are being relegated to these positions, right? People are being...
Yeah, but I feel like you could play it up more if you're given like an artistic role.
Well, then you want to be the chorister. You want to be leading the music. Yeah. You want to lead the congregation in music. Yeah. Let's see. The next bullet point. When it comes to gender-specific overnight activities, such as youth camps, individuals can attend only those that align with their assigned sex at birth.
Because men never do anything bad to the little boys at overnight camps in the Mormon Church. That's never happened, huh?
Never has.
These fucking idiots.
In the case of other overnight activities, such as For the Strength of Youth and other youth conferences, those who have transitioned in any way will be released at the end of the day to a guardian responsible for arranging accommodations.
What does that mean? You
means
go
you
by
go
yourself?
Stay in a motel.
By yourself?
By yourself. Jeez. You and your guardian can go stay in a motel.
Even though these are co-ed events, I'm sure the sleeping quarters aren't, but...
They're not, yeah.
But everyone can go to the youth weekends.
And they're just like, well, we don't... You obviously can't sleep with the boys, and you obviously can't sleep with the girls, obviously.
You pervert.
Right. So you can go to La Quinta. We banish you to La Quinta. It's reaching a crescendo of cruelty and really what's interesting is how this is aligning with right-wing propaganda at the moment, anti-trans propaganda. Yeah. And I find it really disturbing that the Mormon Church is going along with this. That anybody would go along with it anywhere, but like the Mormon Church, they weren't great on the topic.
No.
But I didn't think they were going to get worse. I
thought they would have backed away from making any sort of.
Yeah. I mean, the trans, quote unquote, trans issue for for me, for Christian groups, it is such a missed opportunity because trans is sort of emerging into our consciousness in a modern context, right? Like the Bible doesn't talk about trans issues, right? And so they have nothing to fall back on in the Bible telling them one way or the other, essentially, right? And so it's like, so your holy scriptures are quiet on this topic. Why not just look at the lessons more broadly of your religion about generosity and compassion and community and embrace people who are going through a human experience, right? Who live amongst your ranks, and just be like, well, if the scriptures are quiet on this, why not? Clearly God is giving us the opportunity, right, to be modern on this one topic, right? But that's not how they
That's not how they go. Think. They're old men and they think whatever they think must be a revelation.
But it's just like, but come on, like for me it betrays their bigotries on all of the other ways that they are bigots.
Yeah.
As not being based biblically
on religion. Yeah.
You're finding your justification within your religion, right? Within your the
scripture,
Bible. Yeah. Like that, your treatment of gay people is so weak, but you found it in the Bible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Your treatment of women is pretty much well established in the Bible.
Yeah. Black people,
right? It's in there.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but this for me makes me realize or come to the conclusion that those are just bigotries that they're basing.
They didn't need scriptural context to back that up. They were gonna
do it anyway.
Be sexist,
right?
Homophobic, racist anyway.
Yeah.
And say that God told them.
So they're transphobic now.
Yeah.
And they have nothing to really back it up.
Right.
And I think it's
not.
Point. I was about to say it's great, but it's not great. It's revealing.
Yeah. That's a good point. That everything else kind of falls apart when they do this.
Yeah. And it's like, it's their also my desire that they're consistent.
Yeah.
Is probably.
You're asking too much.
But can't you just be consistent?
Consistent in your bigotry.
Yeah. Nope, they can't. So also, let's see, we were talking about people who have transitioned in any way. They should use a single occupancy restroom when available. Okay. Think about a Mormon chapel. Yeah, they don't have single occupancy bathrooms.
You're just going to have your mom stand outside and go like, don't go in there. My trans kid is in there right now.
If unavailable, they thought this through.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If unavailable, they can counsel with leaders to find an alternate solution.
Person to watch the door.
Examples suggested include people using the restroom that aligns with their assigned sex at birth, or one that corresponds to the individual's, quote, feeling of their inner sense of gender, with a trusted person ensuring that others are not using the restroom at the same time.
They really do want someone to stand guard.
They want a bathroom chaperone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. There's additional language. Wow. Now, this is interesting. They say local leaders should not determine or prescribe how members address an individual. That matter should instead be left to individuals and their families, friends, and church members. So this is consistent with, their previous stance on this. Preferred names can be noted in the person's membership record. But this article in the Tribune sort of points out that these limitations from like working with kids and teaching and holding these positions in the ward, these are the same rules for like sex offenders.
Right.
Right. And that's pretty vile. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
They're treating trans people as though they were sex offenders.
Yeah.
And that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, I suppose it exists, but what trans person is going to the Mormon Church? Like, this is not the place for you.
I know. Well, there was the article interviews Lori Lee Hall, who was a stake president and transitioned and had a job at the church designing, an architect. Or she was an architect who designed temples. So
did she lose her job or
excommunicated and lost her job? Yeah.
Wow.
So, but she kind of talks about how she hasn't been to church in years, but mentions that people that she knows who are trans who do still go to church, this is going to be really, really brutal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that trans people who are sort of still going to Mormon Church might decide to stop.
Yeah.
People who love them,
their family members will stop.
Are potentially going to see through this as just bigotry and awfulness, and hopefully they stop as well.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
They still haven't learned their lesson. The Mormon Church still has not learned their lesson on this topic.
Yeah, never will.
That it only leads to people leaving.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be gained.
100-year-old men, which the president of the Mormon Church is 100 years old. And
the one next to him, next in line is probably 99.
I think he actually is.
Yeah.
Basically really close.
Yeah.
They just know best, and they just have to say it. They just have to say it.
Yeah, and make a handbook about it.
Oh, they love their handbooks.
Right. I want to get a copy of that handbook, by the way. When you were saying you saw your dad's as a kid, I think I would be fascinated to read through one.
Oh, you can find.
Is it online?
I don't know if the new one is online, but you can find older ones online.
Get one.
Totally.
I'm kind of curious. Okay, well, I'm gonna go to a story in Florida. So Florida has a tourism board, and they have a website, visitflorida.com.
Yeah, as most all states do.
Yeah, and it's funded by like public resources. So it previously had an LGBTQ travel section that has mysteriously disappeared.
Of course.
No one made it.
Wait, mysteriously?
Mysteriously.
It's a whodunit.
What happened?
Call Poirot. We must find out who took this down.
Yeah. Basically, someone decided without making it public information that we're just gonna do away with this. And the page consisted of like gay friendly itineraries or like pride events. It's not
safe places to go.
Yeah, and you can still go to these places. They didn't have. I mean, you can still have. None of these places were gay in nature. It was just if you're gay, you might like this itinerary.
Yeah. Well, I've also kind of always wondered how effective these websites actually are.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to a place, like I have on a number of occasions gotten on to, visitmaui.com or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And look through and just be like, this is useless.
This is not where I want to stay.
This is like, okay, cool. Yeah, I know I can go snorkeling. Okay, thanks. I'll find this information elsewhere.
I can hike.
Like, in more informative and useful ways.
Yeah.
Right. And yet every, Visit Salt Lake has their little site.
Who travels this way? Like, I'm going to go see Florida. Let me see what there's to do there.
Let me check out their state propaganda.
Oh,
hey, look, you can go to the Everglades. Oh.
So I think
Write a fan book.
This is a really great opportunity for someone to make a travel website and I'm sure these exist too, but like,
oh, they exist. I know where you're going.
Have a gay travel, gayfloridatravel.com.
I'm sure that I
visit
can almost
gayflorida.com.
Gayorlando.com.
Yeah, like this someone's going to benefit from the state doing this. But
yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's just, I'm sure this was at the direction of Ron DeSantis or somebody, right? Who's just like, no, we gotta get rid of this. I shouldn't say stuff like that, unfounded, but like
someone decided,
someone just
without
was like,
having
gay people coming to South
we're not
Beach.
going to welcome them for hell's sake. I mean, they can come, I guess, but I'm not going to encourage
Gay
it.
people want to come to Pride and spend money. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, how dumb are you?
People with more expendable income than the average household.
Yeah.
We don't want them as tourists.
Yeah. Gay people going to Disney World, right?
It's the gayest place on earth, I've heard.
I've heard this too. I still never going to go.
I'm going to go one day.
Are you?
Yeah.
Go to Epcot?
Yeah.
Fulfill some childhood fantasies?
Yeah.
See the big castle?
I want to do it all.
Palace? Cinderella's palace? Castle? What is it?
Well, you can do that at Disneyland.
Yeah, but the one in Disney World is like...
Is it better?
Big.
I've heard that the Harry Potter in Florida is better than California's too. The Harry Potter world.
Is that at Disney World?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I want to.
That was...
Florida has everything better apparently than California, which, except for being Florida.
Yeah. Except for state
except
government.
for the fact that it's fucking Florida. California.
All right. Well, golly gee, if you have anything that you'd like to add to this, dear listener, some travel suggestions.
Yeah, an itinerary for me when I go.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm sure we have listeners in Florida.
Yeah.
And so if you'd like to join the conversation anyway, respond to anything you've heard so far on the show, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com, and the telephone number to leave us a voicemail is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up. All right, Rachel, we're going to skip the whole middle section of the show.
Let's do it.
Which is for maybe a first-time listener. That's where we would normally do correspondence and new patrons and thanking people. I'll just say, if you would like to support the show, go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/donate. But without Dan, I always like to kind of save those things for when Dan's around, so we can both thank everybody and all that kind of stuff. So at the beginning of the show, we talked about the fact that the Democratic National Convention happened this week. Kamala Harris is officially
the nominee.
The nominee for president.
And Tim Walz. America's dad. America's coach.
Did you see? Okay, so we're going to be talking about the convention, everybody, and different moments from the convention. And Rachel, I just have to say, did you see the moment where Tim Walz mentions his son by name and the kid bursts instantly into tears and is like, that's my dad.
I lost it. I literally lost it. But I'm a crier, but I went, oh my God. And his speech was so good. When they announced him as the running mate, I went, well, whatever, some fat white guy from some state that I don't care about. And now I am in love with him. He's my favorite.
He's amazing.
I love him. Yeah.
And like, I have to say, aside from maybe like Gretchen Whitmer and Josh Shapiro, seeing some of the other options get up and speak this week. Yeah. I was like, oh, she made the right choice.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, totally.
Like not bad, just not what we need right now. Yeah. Right. And
no, we need America's dad.
We need America's dad, who, I mean, for me, the thing of Tim Walz, the detail that just touched me was the fact that he was the first teacher at his school,
advisor,
the advisor for the Gay Straight Alliance,
because he thought it would mean more to have a football coach.
Yeah.
On the as the advisor.
Yeah.
And he's right. And amazing.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
he blew me away. I'm team Waltz.
I know.
I love him.
He was an incredible pick. But the 4 nights of the DNC, there were some standout moments. One that I feel is related to the show specifically, it comes from Hillary Clinton's speech, which she did a phenomenal job. She was one of the really good speakers. But there's a moment where, and I had to go back and actually like find the transcript, and it doesn't read the same way as when she said it.
Her delivery.
But I know I'm not alone because I've seen other atheists post about it. She says at one point, the freedom to, she's sort of listing out. She says, I want to tell you what I see through all those cracks and why it matters for each and every one of us. What do I see? I see freedom. I see freedom to make our own decisions about our health, our lives, our loves, our families, the freedom to work with dignity and prosper, to worship as we choose or not.
Right.
And there was, when I read it, I don't know that like that sounds truly like profound or like a great moment.
Yeah.
Just the freedom to worship as we choose or not.
Yeah.
But there was something in her delivery that connected, that I heard something, and I know other people online were posting about it, that they felt seen as non-believers.
She stuck the landing on the last word, or not. There was
something in the delivery that didn't sound like she was just doing lip service. Right. To the point. Because there were plenty of other speakers who talked about freedom to worship, and they didn't say or not.
Right.
So it's clear it wasn't part of like the script for the week, but it was a big kind of profound moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you go, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And then, with any standout moments for you?
Well, I liked when Tim Waltz said, we have a golden rule where I'm from. Mind your own damn business. I loved it. And he said it without missing a beat. You know, he says that line a lot.
Oh yeah. One thing that I noticed, so mind your own damn business, right? Damn is a word that's been tossed around for a while now. Without anybody feeling like, oh my God, he just said damn.
Yeah.
But there was something about get up off your ass or something like that. And I was like, wow, they said
Kamala
ass.
Kamala was
just talking
directly quoting
her
mom, and she I think it was that one, like, get off your ass and do something about it.
Yeah. And then
some other thing she said.
There was a video that they played right before Kamala came on, and in it there is a they bleeped out Kamala saying the F word.
Oh, right.
But it was in context.
Yeah.
And she knew she was being filmed, but she also sort of, excuse my French or something, or excuse my language, whatever she said, right after it. But it's like, they just showed a presidential candidate, the nominee for the Democratic Party, saying the F word, right? It doesn't matter if it's bleeped out or not. We all know what she said. Yeah. Right. And there was just like this realness.
The people in charge of this convention are clearly younger and savvier, and know that speaking in that sort of real way, unedited way, is connecting with people.
Yeah. It's remarkable.
And in a different way than stupid Trump's off the cuff.
No.
That's not connecting in the same way.
No. Yeah. I mean, his is mean, right? Like the
it's just rambling.
Yeah. And like, there's just something about, like, it was kind of one of the first times in like a political context, right, that I feel like the America that I live in, right, was on display.
Yeah.
and that it wasn't like, and it wasn't fake or trying to be it. It felt like they've just settled into just being like, well, fuck it. This is who we are.
Yeah.
That's it. These are our values.
Yeah.
And we know this is how Americans actually live.
Yeah.
And we know that the majority of the people, this is the world they live in.
Yeah.
And it felt good. I think it's great that the Republican Party has gone off the rails. Mm-hmm. It's a scary thing, but I think it's given space to the Democrats to just be like, well, they've given us permission to be whatever the fuck we want.
Let's just be our authentic version of us. And
by them being so callous and mean and awful and scary, like we get to like slide into whatever position we want to.
Yeah.
And because they've ceded this entire
all
territory.
the territory in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In between fanaticism and craziness.
Crazy on the left and crazy on the right. There's a lot in between.
Yeah. Yeah, there is.
And the Democrats can have all of it.
The Democrats are literally, and they're taking it.
Yeah.
And, but also like the scariness of like, Christian nationalism and everything. Like the Republicans have really carved out this space for themselves that, fingers crossed, right, this fall, the Democrats win and they can just sort of continue to either recede into irrelevancy or finally wake up from this fever dream that they've been in.
Yeah.
And return to like some sensibility.
Yeah.
Because it's insanity, and I don't like.
Well, Trump's definitely not going away if he loses.
No, he's not going away, but I don't think we need to worry about him. I mean, he might try to run as an 83-year-old or whatever it would be.
I mean,
he might try. He's already losing it. Like I don't think he's as sharp.
No,
as he was.
There's people waiting in the wings though to just take his place and.
Yeah,
we still think this is a viable.
Yeah, there's nasty people.
Politics.
But we see whatever appeal Trump has had, right? Whatever magic that he's able to work. JD Vance doesn't have it.
No.
Right? And who are the others? Marco Rubio?
I don't know. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I don't think any of them have.
They don't have. None of them have
that magic.
Ron DeSantis probably was the closest, and he definitely isn't.
Yeah.
Gonna lead the charge on anytime soon on a national level.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, politics. Everyone. Just to acknowledge the fact that we're completely into politics.
Yeah.
Dan and I. Here's the deal. The Democrats need to win and the Republicans need to return to normalcy. And when they do, politics will stop being something that I feel like we have to talk about. That religious people
or atheists need to make heads or tails of.
Well, that is relevant for this show.
Absolutely.
As a topic. But unfortunately at the moment it is. But I will say, sort of acknowledging again the fact that Dan and I had a very different sort of message at the beginning of the year. Boy, it feels a lot better.
I know.
It feels a lot better right now.
It does.
And I really need for Kamala to win.
Me too.
Because if she doesn't.
The depression. Well, just waking up after Election Day when Trump won was like one of the lowest places many of us have ever been in this country. And I don't want to feel that again. I'd been preparing for it for several months. And when I thought Biden was nominee, and then I let go of that now. So my hopes are up. If Trump wins, it's back to that really just awful low place.
It's going to be worse. It's going to be worse than it was because we were given a glimpse of sanity, right? And I know she's not a perfect candidate, but the hope for some sanity, is really great. And also Biden has been if you look at just the accomplishments, if you look at what's happened during his presidency, he's been an effective president.
Yeah.
And we'll see how history really views him. But I think it's going to be in very positive light. But he just doesn't inspire at this point. Right. And I love Uncle Joe.
Sure.
Right. But he's not an inspiring figure, and he hasn't been his entire presidency.
Just because you can run for 2 terms doesn't mean it should be the default.
Yeah.
He did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
And he made the right choice.
Yeah. But just the prospect of having somebody who's vibrant and engaging, leading the country.
It's a breath of fresh air. She's really, I didn't think that I would be so on board with her, honestly, when they kind of were saying who would run in Biden's place. She was not anywhere on my list. And now she really is like a breath of fresh air. I'm really happy about her.
I know. I am too. And it's actually hard to imagine how, if it had turned into this open process that a lot of people wanted.
It was scary. Yeah.
That had would that have resolved by the time the convention came along?
Would
we have all coalesced the same way, right?
The moment Biden announced he wasn't running again, I gave her a huge donation that afternoon because I was like, we have to just get on board with one person. We can't figure this out in a month. We have to just know now.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's what the party did. We all just knew that day. This is a Hail Mary, get behind it.
Yeah.
And it's working.
Yeah. And now it's just I can't imagine someone else being in this position.
No.
Right. She's doing such a good job.
She's so good at this.
I know. Oh my God. It's crazy. So we're feeling good here in TGIA land. And I hope you guys are too. Hopefully this goes well for the next 70 some odd days, I think is what we're at, 70-ish by the time the show comes out. So yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed. And but all of this feeling good, right? All of this we're feeling like we're in a better place. I know a lot of people are saying it. It's a major message that's out there, but we cannot get complacent.
Nope.
And we have to keep our eye on the stakes of this election, and the stakes are still the same. Although,
so what will you do? What will you do? Just as an example.
To keep my eyes on it, I'll vote.
Sure.
And I'll keep talking about it.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah. It's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. We have to show up in the fall.
Yep.
We cannot not use our voices at this time.
Tell other people the same.
And talk to your
that's all you have to do.
Friends and neighbors, and
just anyone who's not planning to vote.
Be willing to drive people to the polls.
Unless your friend is a Christian right, then you don't need to encourage them to vote.
Anyone you agree with,
you
drive them to the polls.
To vote. Get them to vote.
Alrighty. Well, once again, thank you all for listening to the show. And thank you to Rachel.
Yes. Woo-hoo-hoo. Thanks for having me.
Hosting again. So much fun. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
It's always great. And Dan will be back next week. And if you'd like to chime in about anything you've heard on the show today, just as a reminder, the email is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. The voicemail telephone number is 424-666-8442. We really would love to hear from you and hear what you have to say about the things that we talk about. To donate to the show and help keep us going, go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate. This episode was edited by Roger Gowdy, and music was provided by the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston. Yeah, thanks again for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2024, all rights reserved.